Flying to Europe? The EU is a unique economic and political partnership presently between 28 European countries that cover much of the continent: France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and so on. And then there's the UK.
Goodness gracious, what a terrible mess! It simply won't work any longer.
The single or internal market is the EU's main economic engine, enabling most goods, services, money, and people to move around freely. In relation to flying a non-EU registered aircraft in the EU, you can look at the EU as a single country, with some exceptions. Inside the EU, most major laws are supposed to be the same, but in some cases they are not, which can be rather confusing at times. Anyways, that is the EU simplified. Flying a non-EU registered aircraft inside the EU is subject to customs control and may be subjected to the value-added tax called VAT and the customs duty. So how do we deal with it? Well, in some cases it's perfectly possible to fly in the EU without any formalities. This is called a temporary admission. The guidelines differ a bit from country to country, but in general this is the situation. You can always fly straight into and out of the EU without any problems. If you want to fly inside the EU point-to-point, that comes with some restrictions. Point-to-point flying under the temporary admission regulation is generally possible only if you're using an aircraft privately. If you carry EU resident passengers, some member states might consider this cabotage. Also, some member states will treat corporate flying as commercial flying. So, carrying EU passengers and using a corporate jet inside the EU point-to-point may be restricted. Before 2016, it was possible to import an aircraft just like European companies do it. This is no longer possible as it requires a permanent establishment inside the EU. Okay, we have now broadly established the restrictions, so how do we work around those problems? In a perfect world, the rules would be the same all over the EU. Well, actually, they more or less are, but they're still applied differently in some member states when it comes to carrying EU residents on board an aircraft between private and commercial usage. To eliminate all uncertainty when flying in the EU, we recommend using TA, temporary admission, backed by local customs approval. We can help you. Call Opmas today or write us for more information.